And we have now with us a panel of amazing folks from around the ecosystem in age tech and health tech. And I'm really pleased to introduce Sheila Collins from AARP Innovation Labs. Thank you, Sheila, for joining us today. And Lee Shapiro, the the founder and co-CEO of SevenWire with Glenn Tolman, and the recent CFO for Livongo, and again, one of the few folks in just in general who have had multiple unicorns now with a few different IPOs and whatnot. Lee, thank you for joining us as well.
Thanks, Dan. And you have one other great panelist here too.
And there he is. He was hiding on me. I didn't see him in the Zoom boxes in front of me here. Jeremy Sohn, the one of the experts, one of the foremost leaders in life sciences and business development and licensing. Jeremy, thank you for joining us from Novartis.
My head just got bigger, but thank you.
No, not at all. This is fantastic, and really glad to see that the three of you could make it today. I know it's it's a little bit different format. You know, HitLab, we're always testing new things, so we tried this rapid format of these kind of quick panels and interviews and showcases, and really to digest what everyone heard last week at the multitude of meetings around the JP Morgan Health Conference, and really looking at how what we've heard will affect what we're going to do in 2021 and what we're expecting will happen with digital health in 2021. And Sheila, AARP, when it comes to age tech, when it comes to what's happening in the age tech world, is one of the leaders, if not the leader. I don't know of a bigger organization that has more invested in age tech than AARP, and you're helping run the AARP Innovation Lab. Tell us a little bit about 2021 and where you guys are focusing, and some of what happened at JP Morgan meetings last week, CES last week, that's going to form your activities for 2021.
Yeah, hi Stan, thank you for having me here. You know, at AARP Innovation Labs, I have the distinct pleasure of identifying and engaging with health tech startups that are really focused around helping people age well, which is our social mission. We're focused on identifying, the best and brightest startups. And so what that looks like for us is thinking about some of the trends that are out there and ways to make technology more accessible. So we are bullish on things like voice technology. That's a way of helping people to make it accessible, whether you are a technology native or a technology are new to technology. It's one of the ways of helping to make it more accessible. So we have a startup, Voice It, which is focused on helping people who may have speech impediments still have access to things like Alexa and able to engage in things like that. The longevity economy, as we know, continues to grow. It's a $9 trillion economy, trillion. So with that in mind, we constantly look at other ways that technology is unleashing new opportunities and the power within that. We look at technology that's focused on social isolation and helping to deal with that has been increased during the pandemic. So anything that are helping in that arena. So those are some of the things that we care about.
No, super. And, right along the lines of what's happening, certainly with what Novartis is doing, and a lot of the digital health efforts that Novartis has put together over the last few years, again, with their CEO Voss being one of the few executive scientists coming out of the research and development arm of Novartis, and now taking the helm there. And Jeremy, you guys are doing so much in remote patient monitoring and so many other areas. What are some of the areas that are gravitating around age tech, and where do you see this happening based upon, I mean, you made all the circuit, all the parties, all the virtual meetings last week, not many parties these days, but what did you hear that you can see forming a lot of the forecast for 2021 age tech?
I think, what we've seen coming out of Q3, Q4, and now into Q1 is that a couple things. So COVID clearly has articulated and reemphasized the need for digital technologies to simply just eliminate a lot of the burden in the system and make actually access to care not just a priority, but but actually leverage the capabilities to completely change and transform the way that healthcare is experienced. And Lee and Seven Wire and the team there, we're probably best to talk about the work that they've done with Livongo and Teladoc now. What that has done for us is that we are excited by the fact that there's really a transformation taking place. There's an integration of technologies as they move from point solutions to platform technologies now to really integrated experience. And I think as consumers in the world, right, certainly consumers of healthcare, integrated experiences are going to give us opportunities to really realize and accelerate the ability to realize some of the vision that we have around making sure that access doesn't become an issue, that we can get drugs to not just to reduce prices, that we could reach further parts of the world where we haven't been able to reach as effectively as we want. We could leverage technology. You just had Click Therapeutics, digital therapeutics in general. There's great, COVID again has given us some insight into the fact that digital therapeutics are accessible. I don't have to go to a pharmacy. I don't have to go to a hospital. I don't have to go to my clinic in order to access basically digital therapeutics. So there's a transformation that's taking place that's exciting. So I'll stop there and let Lee take it from here.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Jeremy. And Lee, again, you guys just announced a major new fund after a spectacular Fund 2. Patient centricity is what Fund 3 is about. And obviously a big part of that will be around, hospital and home and age tech and things like that. Tell us a little bit about what you heard last week at JPM and how it's going to affect what Seven Wire does in 2021. If it does, maybe it doesn't. Maybe you're just going to we don't need that.
Dan, thanks for having me. And everybody at JPM last week was talking about HitLab. So it's great to be part of this. Actually, most people I spoke to were thrilled that they didn't have to be running in the rain from meeting to meeting, and actually were jealous that the weather was beautiful in San Francisco last week. But with respect to what you were describing, and one correction, it's rare, by the way, for all of you listening, it's rare that I ever get a chance to correct Stan. But Seven Wire is focused on building companies that support all of us as consumers of healthcare, not patients. Patients connotes this notion of someone who has something done to her or to him. Where consumers have choice and consumers make decisions, and consumers are, not necessarily empowered, but they're enabled. They are given tools to be able to do things that they need to in order to manage their health. None of us would want to be patients if I took a show of hands from the screens that I see, but I think all of us would raise our hand to say we want to be healthy. So in that vein, the nature of the conversations that I heard, and Stan, as you know, I'm involved with a couple of public companies in the space. Also with regard to our fund, many of our limited partners who are strategic investors in our fund also were presenting. And I would pick up where Sheila and Jeremy spoke with regard to a big thematic around the impact of COVID. Certainly, I think that the acceleration in innovation that we saw in 10 months of last year since the pandemic broke, literally from the time that I was at the JP Morgan Technology Conference in the first full week of March until the end of the year, that 10 months saw an acceleration in adoption of digital health by 10 years. And the toothpaste is out of the tube, so to speak. This isn't a one-time thing. This is now about using some of these new models for care delivery. I don't think that as we come out of 2021, we'll be talking about digital health. We'll just talk about health. I mean, we don't talk about mobile banking and we don't talk about ATM banking. We bank and we use various modalities, multiple modalities in order to transact. And the same thing will be true with regard to healthcare. I do think, having had the opportunity last week to meet with 4 of the top 10 global life sciences companies, that where Jeremy was around integrated experiences, what David was speaking to with regard to the use of digital therapeutics, is motivated by having a deeper understanding of what's happening at a consumer level. One life sciences executive that I spoke with said that literally every day there are hundreds of millions of people around the world taking one of their medications, and they know absolutely nothing about those people. So when you kind of project to where that goes in terms of thinking about technology-enabled services that can better inform not only what's occurring from a drug delivery standpoint and potential for any types of interactions, but just more about use. What's the way in which those medications are being employed in terms of overall care? We know in this country still that 20% of medications prescribed are not picked up. And within 6 months, 50% of those on chronic medications are no longer compliant. So what do we do to change the mode of the way in which we deliver care to one focus more on prevention, which we know reduces costs much more than treatment does? And so I heard that quite a bit. The other thing that you were hearing was a little bit of the luster around AI, I think has fallen off. Some of you know that there were some large players with regard to AI. And I think that people really are thinking about AI as part of business process, less so as regard to standalone offerings. And really making sure that you're putting the right data in to the model, because otherwise garbage in yields garbage out. And there have been too many companies that really haven't been able to demonstrate the type of progress that one would expect for the level of investment that's been made, because they haven't really taken the full range of data into account as part of those offerings. Let me pause there.
Yeah, no, I would love to get Sheila's response to that, and then also, from your perspective, Sheila, 2021 investments in digital health areas. Obviously, digital health is a massive area with apps and wearables and implantables and IoT and voice skills and genomics, proteomics, exosomes, et cetera. Maybe comment a little bit about what Lee was talking about, and then where you and the Innovation Lab at AARP see things moving as well.
Yeah. So Lee, I really like the distinction between consumer and patient. The ability to have choice, I think, is so important. And one of the things that we know is that people over the age of 50, 89% of them say that they want to remain in their homes as long as possible. So aging in place, finding solutions and technology that really allow people to have the dignity of being at home, but also have a way of having independence and safety. So looking for technology that really allows for in-home sensors so that you can see what's happening around. Also, there's a need for fun. So we've seen technology around virtual reality that has a balance of both. It could be a way of communicating with someone and being part of an experience, an immersive experience. And it can also serve as a way to provide some opportunities for memory care, address social isolation, things of that nature. So looking for ways for the technology to also be a welcome part of life versus just a way of enabling care. The other things that we are concerned about and looking for are ways to help the caregiver. 1 in 5 people are caregivers in America, and that role is hard. I'm a caregiver for my mom. I'm a caregiver for my daughter. And so a lot of it is monitoring different aspects of those cares and doing a lot of coordination. So if there are solutions around that coordinated care that can talk to one another, that's interoperable, that has lens from the healthcare side as well as the consumer side, I think those things are important. We have a company, Iona Care, that really helps with things in that nature. I think there's also big opportunities around really helping to create solutions that foster alignment around how people want to live and how people want to enjoy aging well. So those are some of the areas that we care about, and thanks.
Yeah, and there's terrific alignment here too, I think, as well, because that's one of the things across a few really critical therapeutic areas that Novartis is working on, is that aging well process. And they've come out with therapies over the last couple of years that are just stunning in terms of the development, and whether it's a gene therapy or whether it's other things that, even 5 years ago, people would have been scratching their heads saying, yeah, maybe 20 years later. And Jeremy, talk a little bit about how Novartis is taking the traditional therapeutics and the digital therapeutics and trying to bring them together to create entirely new product lines for patients around the world.
It's a great question. Let me answer that in a couple of different ways. So, I mean, first and foremost, we're deeply focused on trying to make sure that we can deliver on disease-modifying drugs. And you hinted at some of the work that we've been doing, let's say in cell and gene therapy for SMA as an example, which is a terrible neurologic disease. Most people will unfortunately die before their 5th birthday. And here we literally have been able to have a curative effect for many, if not the vast majority of those patients. But we need to be able to not just sort of be able to continue to deliver on disease-modifying drugs, but we need to be able to deliver on that faster. And many of you who know me and know the space have heard me say this is that over the last 30 years we've gone in the wrong direction in terms of the amount of time and the cost it takes to sort of bring these products to market. Now we've done an amazing job in bringing more of them to market, and the complexity has clearly changed. But 30 years it was 30 years ago it was seven years and roughly $600 million, and now it's 12 to 15 years and roughly $2 billion. It's not perfectly analogous, but what we just saw over the last year with COVID is that not only did we start from scratch, well, we didn't really start from scratch, but we literally went from taking a few candidates off the shelf, and we went through clinical trials all the way through approval to commercialization in less than 12 months. It's amazing. Can we take some of those learnings? And again, I'm not saying that they're completely analogous, but can we take some of those learnings, the agility that was created, the collaboration that was created, the ability to work together, share data, the ability to take some uncomfortable risk, et cetera, and apply that now to a new mode of working. And I think that there, as Lee said, is hopefully the toothpaste is out of the tube, and we have these modalities that now will allow us to do that. So if we can literally bend a curve in terms of cost, time, and for that matter, even creativity around repurposing, reusing, reapplying our knowledge, I think that is amazing. And we're certainly, again, we've seen that. Thankfully, Novartis really hasn't missed a beat in terms of our ability to continue with our clinical trial programs across the globe. And that's because, by the way, I want to just be clear about that. That's because for the last 10 years, we have been investing in digital health technologies and platforms that the vast majority of the market said, not yet, not now, not in scale, can't be done. And so the fact that we were doing that, along with many of our peers, but we were making those investments, meant that we could actually now take them and turn them live because we knew how to do it. We had them in our SOPs. This wasn't like we were scrambling. We literally just said, fabulous, we're going to take that muscle that we already know how to do and just accelerate it. So.
That's absolutely true. And that really leads toward the importance of innovation. And Lee, we've got about 30 seconds left, and sum it up for us relative to 2021 and what where we're going this year with digital health and what, or whether it's not called digital health anymore, just healthcare, period. Where is this going over the next 12 months, and what are we going to talk about a year from now?
Well, certainly the pandemic has brought out two important needs, and I know that this has been discussed a little bit earlier today, Stan, but just to reemphasize, first and foremost, we've seen tremendous disparities in access to care. And what we can do with regard to virtual care platforms allows us to address that in meaningful ways. And we need to make sure that we're providing appropriate access to those digital tools, but we can expand the reach of the offerings that we bring to market. The second is that with the dramatic increase in depression, loneliness, anxiety caused by the pandemic, and a shortage of mental health professionals, use of digital tools to provide better offerings around mental health programs is going to be an important area of expansion that we see coming over the course of next year. Two quick shout outs to others who I see on the program. One, an early pioneer in medical device and connectivity, thinking about digital health, Don Jones, and the leadership that Anmon Johnson and the ATA have provided across the space, broadly speaking, with regard to digital. We wouldn't have made some of the progress that we've made without their help. So thanks to both of them.
Yeah, and thank you, Lee. Thank you, Sheila and Jeremy, for really helping bring this all together today with just a tremendous panel on age tech and what we're looking at in 2021. Thank you all.